the beginning of the recording. First we have, before the meeting, we have an unofficial early opening, and that's for those who can't make it till the end of the meeting. So that's our unofficial opening, three of us, me, Mariana, and Anna. Here's Paulina.
Paulina comes
nice.
too.
Probably Paulina is checking his camera right now and checking if everything works. He is not expecting everyone to be here already. Let's see if he's gonna be surprised. Oh, and Susanna is coming. That's here's the unofficial opening when everyone is already here. Yes, that's good. Do you hear us?
Hi.
Hi. Kind of. How was internet for you? Did you found the place where you can speak?
Well, I'm in Novi Sad, so here the sound is a little bit. I'm charging my cell phone here in the hotel.
Okay. So we'll try to keep on. So we can actually, kind of start, but let's continue. Right now we're we started, since it was unofficial opening, we started from. Oh, Daniela, hello. That's nice. Are you also checking the camera if everything is working? We're all here already. Daniela, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Now we hear you.
Okay.
You hear us. That's good. Are you just checking how it works? And we're already here, all of us. So.
Oh goodness.
Okay, so we can make an official start, but I don't want to let it go. That interesting question. That Mariana said that she has lessons, most of her lessons during the weekend. Her students don't want to take lessons during weekend. For me, it's the opposite. Weekends are fully booked. That's the most difficult time for me. How about you people?
For me, it's the same as with you, Alisa, because I have most of my students on Saturday. We also have Sunday as well, but I always refuse because I need something to do off.
Exactly. I opened Sunday and I closed Saturday. And I refuse. Saturdays are mine. I need one weekend because everything happens during the weekend. If I want to go to some language exchange club or something, often I can't. And so I also have life. Yeah.
Yes.
And Susanna and Daniela and Paulina, what about you? What about you people? Weekends, teaching weekends, not teaching weekends?
I do weekends, but not that much. Normally in the mornings. Today not, because as I wrote, I was moving to a new place, and for me it's still morning. It's 10:30. I'm in Peru.
It's morning. I see. Yes. And the United States also would be like your morning would be their morning. That's convenient. And for me, I teach evenings a lot because students in the US on the other side of the globe. Yeah, kind of. And weekends, not too much.
I don't do a lot of weekends. This was actually an advantage of moving to South America because the majority of my students live in Europe, and now I can teach during the day, which is their evening. It is much more comfortable for me.
That's a luxury. Susanna, what about you?
Well, mostly I have so many classes during the whole week from Monday until Friday, but during these kind of 2 weeks and so on, the last 2 weeks, I also started to have like many classes during the weekend. So practically I work every day. So my students are usually from the whole world, So I also have some students even from my country, from Serbia, from Croatia, and also from Sweden, from UK. So
you work a lot. You're a workaholic. Have you thought about that?
Yeah. No, nothing. I just said that I don't consider this just as a pure job because usually I also have some fun, during my classes. So it's really kind of interesting. So we make also some jokes and in a silly way they learn also their mistakes and so on. So.
Yeah, students become friends at the end. Yeah. So that was unofficial introduction is more or less over. So we can. Shall we wait 5 more minutes with general questions for maybe others to join us? And talk chat about something, or we shall start now. What do you say?
Elisa, actually, I don't have questions, but I need to go because very soon my phone is going to be charged and it's uncomfortable to be like this.
Oh,
all
you
the
are
time. So I'm in front of the charger just to talk to you. So I need to go right now.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us even for several minutes. Thank you. I really.
Welcome. Bye,
It
people.
means a lot for
Bye.
me. Thank you for
Bye.
joining. Bye. Bye. It was nice of Susanna to show up even like that. Okay. Oh, wait a second. Daniela, is it your blog Language Journeys? Is it?
Yes, yes, it is.
Oh,
Yes.
that's my honor. That's my favorite. Language Journeys.
Really?
Yes,
Oh,
it is.
which one you?
Yes, I was wondering. I didn't know you teach on italki actually somehow. Maybe. Yeah, it must be mentioned in your blog, but I'm usually I'm just I'm just reading when I have the chance. You know what happens with blogs? Sometimes I get this email. I'm in the email list, and then I see that there's a new entry, and when I have time, I look as fast as possible, but I try to keep reading because
That's great. I'm happy.
yes. Do you know, Anna? I think I sent you the link. Did I?
Yes, that is what I'm just now writing to Daniela, because I really enjoyed a couple of articles there and found it very, very useful for me, for myself, for my small business. So I'm really grateful to see her here, and it's really an honor for me too.
Yeah, for me, it's very nice to meet some of you. Well, kind of meet.
No, yes,
It's different from just writing on Facebook.
yeah.
It's nice to talk to someone. And when you had the first meeting, I was actually traveling. I was traveling from Europe back to South America, and I just didn't have the time to join. But today it was very convenient.
Yeah, that's about your question, Pauline, about whether this. That's why we talked about maybe organizing a like weekly event with lectures and stuff, and then I said that. That's the problem with weekly events. You see, it's not only me. It happened to me that when Paulina had his summit, I was traveling and I really wanted to attend and I couldn't. So I think bi-weekly meeting, maybe it's better because we are kind of getting used to it and we know that it happens at such and such day, such and such time. If we can't make it this week, we can maybe make it next time. So I think it makes sense. And also, because life is kind of dynamic and things happen, and sometimes we want to share the recent things that happen. It's a different format, different modalities. I said to Paulina once. But what do you think, girls? Yeah, I think like bi-weekly, it has a different spirit to it, different tempo. This bi-weekly meeting.
I think weekly, or the opportunity to do this weekly sounds good to me.
If anyone,
and as you said, it won't be possible to attend every week.
Absolutely.
If
anyone of
sometimes you can change the hours a bit. For me, normally I teach a bit on Saturday morning, but not so much. So this hour is okay for me in most of the cases. And right now I'm very happy that my internet here seems to work very well. That's always a big fear when I move to a new place.
Absolutely, yes, you had an article about that. Yes, I absolutely identify with that. That's our air. We breathe this internet, and traveling is a problem. We never know.
I was reading. Excuse me. I was reading to Daniela that you have a lot of changes of places. How do you deal with internet, with Wi-Fi? How do you find a place with a good connection?
I ask when I book an Airbnb, I really ask before and also make it very clear to hosts that I will have to leave when the internet doesn't work. I'm here in Peru. It's actually not that difficult because you can change the packages. That's possible. Some people, I rented this room privately. And some people offered me, okay, if the internet isn't fast enough for you, we can book another package. I don't think it's not possible in all countries, but here it's quite easy. Though Peru's internet is not so good. Lima is okay. I'm in Lima, and in Lima I haven't had any problems yet. But it's always a fear whenever I come to a new place and say, will it work? Will I be able to?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So, and some places it's already predictable. Then Germany is very difficult, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello.
I spend a lot of time in East Europe. East Europe is great.
Sorry.
Sorry, it's fine. Hello, welcome,
Hi.
welcome. That was unofficial start. That's your surprise. That why are we here? Did we all come on time? No, we came earlier.
Okay, good.
It happens. That's okay. We could, have a lesson with children. Okay, so now we can actually make an official start because we were just chatting, and I am trying. I mean, you tell me if it's a good idea. I thought that it's good to, we have each meeting more try to talk, to concentrate on a certain topic. And for this meeting, the idea was to talk about small languages, inspired by, the main cause was Anna's words and Marianne, and we had a kind of start last time talking about small languages. So I thought it's a burning subject, so relatively small. Yeah, what's small? It's a question. So what is a small language? What do you think? What is small, actually?
That's a good question.
Yeah. What defines in terms of, is it for a teacher? What makes you feel that, I'm teaching a small language?
Well, when I look at Duolingo map and see that my language is not the biggest there, then I think, well, maybe my market is not so big. But when I dig a little bit deeper, I see that there are not so many offers for my language, and that is a good news. And for example, when you have a look at Udemy courses, you see that there are pretty much of them for English, for German, and something for Italian and Chinese, but not so many for Hebrew or for Croatian, or even for Arabic languages and so on. So it's a question what a small language is.
Yeah. For me, number of teachers in italki, actually, Yeah. So, and yeah, Martina, for you, is Italian a small language? Like for you personally?
Well, again, as I said, it's a good question because to me, yes, it is a small language, just because there are no communities, like around the world. So it is a small language, not to the extent of language learners, because of course, Italian is, I think, like one of the first languages, not the first, sorry, one of the most learned foreign languages in the world as a preferred, but as community-wise is not really widespread. So, it's spoken like in Italy, a little bit of Switzerland, some communities in Australia, some in America, but to my opinion, it can be considered a small language because it has no widespread. God, my English is going down the sink today, sorry. But yes, so I think it can be considered a small language, speaker-wise.
I see. Okay, Daniela, for German, I don't know. Do you feel sometimes maybe that it's a small language, or it's a huge?
When you're talking about how widespread it is, I think it would be a small language, but because of Germany's economical power in Europe at the moment, there's quite a demand for German. So at this moment, I wouldn't consider it a small language. There are a lot of German teachers on italki, and there are a lot of people who want to learn German. For example, my students, most of them live in Germany or Switzerland, and they speak English at work and learn German for their private lives because they want to stay in those countries.
And my experience, I'm just recently back from the polyglot gathering, and German was maybe not the second but the third spoken language. There was English, after English French, and then German. German is it's a respected language, yes, if we judge not but maybe by the number of native speakers, which may be not huge, it's not like English, but just by the prestige, how prestigious it is. It's strong because the economy of Germany is strong and general interest is strong. Yeah. So, and for me currently, I live in Moscow currently. I moved to Moscow, yeah. So I'm also traveling. So here they have a German-speaking club, like language exchange club that I've been visiting recently, and I was kind of amazed how people really learn German and really, speak well. Yeah.
They even have this here in Peru, in Lima.
Mm-hmm.
There's a meetup for German speakers.
German,
or
it's German, not like, yeah.
German.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for German. Yes.
Okay, Marianne, about Croatian, of course. Yes, I was asking a question, what is a small language and what are the criteria, more or less, yes, for saying my language, the language I teach is a small language? What do you say?
Yes, it is a small one because we have 5 million people who are speaking it. Mm-hmm. Maybe we have 2 more in abroad, and we have a lot of people who want to learn Croatian because their parents or grandparents are from Croatia. So mm-hmm. There is demand, but this is a small language. So
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. By the number of speakers, kind of. Yeah, same for me. Same for me. Small mm-hmm. country, small amount of speakers. Popular? Mm-hmm. Yes, it is popular. Yes, but native speakers? No, not at all. Not at all. Mm-hmm. Oh, Stefan, thank you for adding the languages. Yes, because I still remember from last time, but but maybe those who will be watching won't know. Yes. So Italian, we said already, and English. Yes, English is maybe the biggest, like relatively, nothing to be added. And now I had another question to ask. Actually, for me, it's most interesting of all, and I start from it. For learners who learn, like so-called small languages or relatively small languages, do you think that the learners, the students, are special? Do you think that there are common traits for the learners who choose to learn a small language? Or that's one thing, and also what motivates them? But okay, let's keep one by one. Yeah, learners, characteristics. Who are they? Why are they learning, etc. Stuff like that.
That's what I would like to focus on. It was Daniela's idea that inspired me. That it's the motivation that makes the difference. As for German learners, it's the economical situation, and it means that the person is going to learn a language in any nothing is going to motivate him down because he's very self-determined to stay in the country or to get a job. And we have with Ukrainian or Croatian, it means people study for pleasure, just to stay connected with their relatives or to go someday to this country, and that's it. And that means that they can quit soon, or that they are not going to take a lot of efforts learning this, or that they're not going to pay much for that. So I would say, as for Ukrainian, the first group of people are the people living in the diaspora who would like to level their language somehow to be able to speak with their relatives. The second group is people who are just polyglots and would like to learn something interesting. And the third group is people having some business here, together with religious missionaries and so on, not only just some economic things. So the motivation is really the thing that makes a difference.
But
I totally agree with the... I totally agree with the motivation thing. I know that my language, I teach Italian mostly, and I know that it's not a real small language. Actually what happens here is that we've got 85 million speakers around the world, though just 64 is basically the population of Italy, and then so 20 million around the world. And also Italian, I guess it's a pretty, it's a language that is taught in the world, and it's taught a lot just because maybe of our culture. So a lot of people actually study Italian maybe just because they want to get in touch with our culture. So it's not more of, like, as you said, actually, as Anna said, as a business thing, because maybe like they just need it for business, like people learn English, but it's more of because they want to get in touch with the culture. For example, for me, for Italians, with the food and with the, because they want to read something in Italian, like old books and those kind of things. So I guess that it's interesting to see how people are motivated to learn Italian because of the culture. That's what they want.
Yes, if I can step in, I do agree with you, because the majority of my population is basically either for passion, they do it like, oh, because it sounds so beautiful. That's what their reason. And so I'm like,
yeah.
okay. But the majority, truly, it's either to reconnect with their family, because either they're like from the 1920s, like the big, you know, immigration in the United States. That's the majority of my students are from the United States. But then again, also for traveling, I want to be able to speak with native speakers while I'm there, because, well, we're not famous for our English. So a lot of people actually, they say like, oh, I've been there before and I felt uncomfortable not being able to be understood or to, you know, like speak out my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with Stefano. Truly.
Yeah, for example, there are smaller languages like, I don't know, those Scandinavian languages like, I don't know, Finnish, Norwegian. Though people, I mean, they might be motivated to learn those languages, but at the same time, those speakers, I mean, in Northern Europe, they know English very well.
Mm-hmm.
So an English speaker, if he or she goes to, I don't know, like to Finland and those kind of countries, they're going to speak English anyway. So they have no worries in being understood. In Italy, or I don't know, let's say Spain, for example, as you said, we're not famous for English. Our English is very, very poor. So the fact that they want to travel and they want to learn at the same time the language, so they can actually connect with people from Italy or other countries, that might be another reason why the student is very motivated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see. Those people who haven't. Mariana, anything about students? Daniela, something about
no,
students?
it's the similar. The situation with Croatian is similar to Italian in that travel and connect to the people part. But I would only add that majority of the people learning Croatian, they are not interested in learning it perfectly. Mm-hmm. It is quite difficult to learn it, to master Croatian. The majority want to be able to speak with the relatives, with people in the country. But we have in Croatia a lot of people, especially young people, speak English. So actually, for tourists, it is not so much a problem if they don't speak Croatian. The majority is. I have a distraction. Sorry. I'm not alone, as you see.
It's okay. Why?
So,
it's not a lesson. Even if it's a lesson, I think students are quite understanding. So, and we are more understanding than students. So that's fine.
It is Saturday, so so the majority is trying to learn Croatian for speaking it with relatives or with people here. Mm-hmm. So the majority is motivated to learn conversation and to learn how to speak it, but maybe not so perfectly in grammar sense. Mm-hmm. So it is quite amazing. So they stick to some intermediate level, I would say.
As a teacher, since it's a teacher's meetup, please do share with me. That's my biggest problem. Sometimes. Again, it's a small language, someone just acquaintances and stuff. I feel like I cannot, I really have this, I don't like teaching phrase book. I hate giving, set phrases, okay, learn this and that's how you say hello and that's how you order at a restaurant. I feel like that's wrong. Language is kind of to be mastered. I like when the students can juggle with words. Okay, words and grammar are the two kind of forbidden words which are not spoken today. It's not in fashion, but they are there, I think. Language is much more than that, but there are words and there is grammar. The vocabulary and grammar, we have those ingredients as well, right? So, when I think I really can't resist teaching each language systematically. But though often especially for any language and especially for small languages, students maybe just want to have fun and to play with it around, to say several phrases and not to approach the language systematically. How do you fight that urge? What do you do?
I don't think that you have to fight it. I mean, this is one-to-one tuition, and when the student decides that he wants to learn like this, let him do it. I don't fight this. I don't have this for German that much because people are usually very interested in the grammar and want to know the language well, want to speak it perfectly. But I sometimes have students who will say, I want to speak a bit. I want to be able to communicate when I spend my vacations in Germany. And then this is what I do, just practice a bit. And in this case, I do not correct every mistake. And by these are students who normally take just a couple of lessons. They don't stick to the language learning for a long time. But that's fine. I can't force anyone. So for me, it's okay.
I agree with Daniela. I think that you as a teacher have to decide if you want to be flexible and say, I'm going to only teach people who want to teach week by week, every week, and become fluent and take 10 lessons with a goal or purpose of communication. Or as a teacher, you can offer really address student needs. I had an example of a student who said, I want to learn the lyrics of this song of Shakira. And that was it. She didn't want to introduce herself. She didn't want to ask questions. All she wanted to learn in a way that it was not just looking at the translation, but just she being able to understand the words. And we did 4 or 5 sessions. She learned the words. We sang together, and that was it. We had a lot of fun with a very narrow focus that was not, let's look at Baba grammar or other vocabulary. It was just this one song from Shakira, which was very interesting.
Paulino, which one? Which one song?
Oh, I forgot now.
He's not a Shakira fan, huh? I am.
Yes, I have. I'm too, but because of my children.
Yeah. Well, it's like they had a warning. We will be kicked out of this meeting, and we will just reconnect. Okay, it works. I checked it last time. Okay, just in case when it will be automatically kicked out, and then we just log in back to this meeting. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sorry for interrupting you. Yes, keep going. Yeah, and as for I had a student, but usually again I go usually into long explanations about why it's good to study systematically, and usually students are very understanding, and they do want to study systematically. And if there are those students who will take 3 lessons and leave, they are those students. It doesn't matter how we approach them. Yeah. Although I had several students who, yes, indeed, they needed a special approach. For example, a lady, she's not a young lady, and she's very, she wants the language because that's her way, that's her hobby, and that's how she that's how she's relaxing probably. That's because she has a difficult work, and language, the lessons that just give her more. She is something about psychology and consultant, so she works with clients, and when someone is sitting at a lesson and giving her a lesson, it's a way for her, maybe it's kind of not therapy, but kind of a way to relax. So for her, I can't expect any results. And then I found out that she loves poetry. So yeah, she brought to me the anthem, the national anthem of Israel, the Hatikva, and we read through, and it was of course much way beyond her level, but she enjoyed it so much. So since then we are reading poetry, but that's only she. It's only one lady. Okay. Anything else?
Nice. But it depends. I mean, again, about the grammar thing. It really depends on the student, I guess, because I've got a student from Chile, and she knows Spanish. So even though she was not very interested in grammar, she was able at the same time, like in a few lessons, to pick up the language. So even though her grammar was not perfect, I was able to actually have conversations with her. Then I had another student from France that, let's say, French is not so far away from Italian, but our grammars, are pretty different. And he just wanted to have conversations. And of course, not all students learn at the same time, at the same rate.
Absolutely.
So, it was not, the fact that he just wanted to have conversation kind of like made me think, well, that is a good idea that you want to focus on conversation, but you do need grammar to actually pick up the language first and understand how it works, and then we can move on to conversation. So I had a few, I mean, we talked about that a little bit, and then I convinced him that, well, we need to talk and discuss those grammar topics, otherwise conversation is going to be impossible for us. And then he agreed, and after 3 or 4 months, now he's able to actually have little conversations, and he's very happy about that. So it depends on the student.
Yes, I fully agree with this, because teachers often have hard times to explain to students that grammar is essential. They always come and say, I would like to talk. I would like to be able to converse. I'm not going to study the rules. It's so boring. I have a lot of textbooks, and I'm going to go over them by myself. But they never do this, actually, at least. And yes, you need to motivate them somehow to show them that grammar is essential to be able to communicate.
Yeah,
I agree that grammar is important. You know, I live in the United States, and I teach Spanish, and Spanish is the language that is most taught in the United States. But unfortunately, in schools, there is a super high emphasis on grammar and textbooks that, and many teachers come from this environment and come to the online teaching and try to impose the same idea instead of focusing on the students' needs. I think sometimes when people focus too much on the grammar all at once, it can overwhelm the students. For example, like most Romance language have a lot of conjugation. So if a student wants to say, I want water, then quiero means I want. And that's all they need to express their desire. At that moment in time, when they are trying to express their desire, they don't need to know how to say he wants, she wants, they want, because there are all these different endings. And in my opinion, I've seen many examples, especially in the classroom when I can go and observe, but I have observed some online teachers as well, helping with professional development. Sometimes they invite me to attend a class to see where they can improve. That there is this impulse to say, okay, we are learning this word, I want. So you need to learn how to say, I want, you want, he wants, she wants, all at the same time. When at the moment, if you're trying to be communicative, all you need to express is I want, which is the immediate desire, and then the rest could come later, not come at all, but it could come later. So what I think I strike a balance, and at first comes the communication, the need, the goal, and then with the expansion of those needs and expansion of the context could come other structures, other conjugations. That is kind of my approach and my opinion.
That is kind of the approach of apps like Duolingo and those kind of things, I guess. Like, I mean, I don't know if, I'm sure you know those kind of applications like Duolingo, Memrise, that instead of just like teaching you a conjugation, they teach you how to say, like, I don't know, I want water, and that's all. Then later you learn the other like endings for other subjects like he, she, and blah, blah, blah. So it's interesting to see that anyway.
Right, that's how children learn. When children want water, we don't say, okay, if you want water, say, yo quiero agua, I want water. We don't say to them, oh, if you want water, you need to know, yo quiero agua, él quiere agua, tú quieres agua, nosotros queremos agua. That's not how children learn.
No.
Of course. On the one hand, I absolutely agree. Like those lists, those grammatical lists, are just out of the question. It's not. It doesn't help our. It doesn't help our brain. Our brain doesn't learn like this with the lists. But what I actually do, for example, when we learn like personal pronouns, for the first lesson we learn just I. So next lesson we learn the personal pronoun for you. But I try to separate them. I never give lists. Lists are bad. Lists are evil. But grammar, we can't avoid it altogether. But we can give it gradually. And I never call grammar. Maybe once I will mention that this is grammar, but it's just this word has such a negative connotation, so I just try not to say it. And that's how we say it, yeah. But yeah, I do like structured approach, and you know, children, we can't teach our students. They do not learn like children learn, because children have a terrific situation of full immersion. Our students don't, and our students for
And they have much more time. Children take much more time to learn a language. No?
Yeah.
And as adults, we can learn it much more quickly, but with a different approach. I do teach grammar. I think it depends a bit on the language and on the student's native language. For example, what Stefano said, when he has a student who speaks Spanish as his native language, Italian grammar is easy. I don't speak Italian, but I understand a lot because I speak Spanish and Portuguese. So for me, Italian grammar would be quite easy. You wouldn't have to explain that much to me. No? It would just come. But I try to learn some Ukrainian. And learning Ukrainian without grammar is, in my opinion, is impossible. I need to understand the rules because otherwise I will always butcher the language, and this is something I wouldn't want.
Yeah, it's like, you know, where they had that approach of sorry, they had that approach of whole language learning, whole teaching, whole reading. What was that? Holistic reading, when children were taught to recognize a word as they see it instead of learning letters. I think that's not a wise approach because, like, why learn a letter that consists of letters like we learn hieroglyphics? It's much more difficult. So same with grammar. Why not learn grammar? Like, because it makes things easier. Yeah, it can be an impediment when it's taught as it's taught in schools, and we learn lists, and we have to, you know, have only exercise again. Okay, let's keep going. So grammar. Also, I wanted to say that I have something interesting about the type of students I get, and I think it's very characteristic for small languages. Something that doesn't happen with English, for example. I get beginners, lots of beginners, and real beginners, not false beginners, zero beginners. That's my kind of specialty, those zero beginners. Yes, do you agree with that? That it's something about small languages?
But that's the same for me. That happens to me as well.
With Croatian, we have false beginners, and we have people who had parents or grandparents from Croatia, and they speak a little bit at home. So I have, for example, I had a student. He has an older sister. His sister went to school in the USA, and she spoke very little English because the parents spoke with her Croatian at home. So with other children, they stopped to speak Croatian, and they speak English at home. So the student I got, he speaks a little bit Croatian because of this situation with his sister. So it can be they're beginners, but they are false beginners. They hear sometimes Croatian, for example, but not so much. So they have something from the language, but they are beginners actually.
Do they have better pronunciation?
Yes, they have some language, so in the ear, so to say, but and they have some problems with pronunciation and with grammar, but not so much as normal beginners. So
interesting. Yeah. Right now I have a student who is actually for Hebrew as a small language. It's a strange small language because, again, when we say that students, the learners of small languages learn them usually for fun, for passion, for Hebrew, it's different. Some learn absolutely for fun, but some want to immigrate to Israel because Israel is kind of open for immigration. It's like half immigrant country. So some learn because they need to learn, because they have to learn. So it's interesting because I can see students. I can compare and see students who learn for fun and students who learn because they have to, because they need it. They will need it, or they need it now because they are already in the country. And I think learners who learn for fun learn better, don't you think? Or maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree.
Depends on how much pressure there is. From there, say if someone learns for professional reasons or really because he is in the country, and I have students who learn German because their kids attend school or kindergarten in Germany or Switzerland, and they feel a lot of pressure that they have to speak the language, because it's not like this that everyone in Germany or Switzerland speaks English well. And then they dedicate the time to their studying, even though they usually work a lot, and German is their third language or even fourth, depends. But it really depends.
And do you people have do you have many monolingual students? That's not connected to the size of a language, but still monolingual learners. I mean, someone speaking only
So
English.
like students that are beginners, but they know just one like another language.
They have
They usually
both
speak English.
usually speak English. But English speakers,
Oh.
do you have like Americans who want to learn Italian and know only English?
Yeah, totally. Like just people. I mean, the people that actually speak only one language, like their native language, and they want to learn another language, they are the hardest.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, for me too.
Yeah.
You have to kind of develop. You need to dedicate certain kind of months for developing this language, sensitivity and flexibility, and the understanding that you say things differently, you think differently. Yeah.
These are usually native English speakers who are monolingual and start to learn another language.
Yeah, probably because they are those who reach italki. I bet there are many Chinese who are monolingual, but just they don't, since they speak only Chinese, they would search in. That's the language they will be searching in, and they won't find italki probably. So
Sorry.
Yeah.
I do have several actually total beginners that contacted me through like Google Translate, and because they do not have any skill in any language but their own, which is usually I had 2 Portuguese, which as Daniela said earlier, it's fairly easier if compared to, for example, I had a Russian, an Ukrainian, and a from Belarus. And they had no skills, like no English skills, no Italian skills, total beginners. And apparently there is this book, Eat, Pray, Love, that I had like 5 students, like I read this book, I need to learn Italian. I was like, okay. But anyway, so in my opinion, as again, Stefano said, these are the hardest because, okay, except for buongiorno, ciao, what else? Like, how can you manage? But in my experience, Italian Sign Language helped me a lot because I am an Italian Sign Language interpreter, and visuals, like with hands, that helps a lot, like to convey like a small conversation. Of course, not to explain grammar or like advanced levels, but to start with and to go with beginners. That's something I use a lot, like hands, and like I use the space in the screen. So like I use left, right, up, down, stuff like that, and that helps a lot for total beginners. Like total. Then of course, if they speak English, that's easier because you just go with boom, you just switch to English and it's so much easier. But with total beginners, it's hard.
It's like, I don't know, it's, I mean, a language, like, it's like doing math. Let's say that you took math in like elementary school, then you moved to middle school, and then to high school. And you've been doing math throughout your whole life. Then at some point, like, let's pretend you never did math, and you want to start doing math when you are, I don't know, 30. Like, you don't have the mental approach to learn that subject. So it's impossible. Not impossible. Nothing is impossible. It's very hard for you. And same thing with the language. So, like, if you never learned a language, I mean, a second language, but your native one, it's hard because you have like to have the I don't know, that mindset that you are missing. And that's what the teacher has to kind of like give to the student. And it's not just learning a language, but it's also learning a new approach to a new, let's say, subject.
A new mindset, yes, because a lot of students have like language learning, how do you say, skills, like in itself. Like I have several students contacting me and say, hey, I'm an English speaker, I'm from the United States, I did study, I don't know, like usually it's French and Spanish in school, and they just come to me and say, hey, I like this approach. So they just straightforward tell me. I was like, oh, that's easy. I like that. Thank you. But usually, yes, as Stefano said, if they have no skills, like their brain is not, like set for language learning. So it's like hard to make it elastic at first, and then it starts to.
We can make it. Actually, I did a video a couple of months ago. We did a video. I had a student. He was with me maybe from the very start when he started teaching. No, it was like not at the very start, but he's with me 2 years. Yes, and he spoke only English, and that was his first foreign language, Hebrew. Just like a different language group. Imagine how hard it was for him. And we made a video. He recorded his first lessons, and I found out only recently. He said, "Oh, I had those old recordings, and I made a new recording. Do you want to make a video out of that?" And I made a video. I can post a link later to this video. How this guy, after a year and a half, that's magic. It's most rewarding when you see like your student after a year and a half. He was just fighting through the troubles, remembering how to say more. Yes, he was really zero beginner. And then in a year and a half, he's speaking. And that's so great. I'll post a link later. Yeah, it's worth watching.
Nice.
Well, yes. And okay, let's move on. I had another question, actually. So we were talking about the students of the small languages. Now talking about teachers of the small languages. I'm handing the microphone to you, Marianne. You mentioned last time that the problem of teachers of the small languages, the main problem is the materials. We talked about
I don't have a lot of people to share with my experience, because I saw on italki there are 2 more colleagues who works there, and I saw on the internet there are really maybe 10 or 20 teachers of creation online. You don't have to learn from others. Maybe you can collect some knowledge from other who teach other languages, but you cannot share your experience with others.
Exactly. I mentioned to someone, "Oh, there are not many. I teach at italki, and I don't have many teachers there, and it's not too good." I mean, I have no competition so much. Like we're like 15, and they said, that's good. You have no competition. I said, "No, it's bad." Why is that? You're not challenged enough? And no, that's not an issue. Being challenged or not challenged. No. Yes, exactly as you say. You need to have comrades. You need to have other people to, Yeah, exactly. Also, you mentioned about materials.
Yeah, we don't have almost any. We have a lot, maybe 2 or 3 good textbooks for learners, but there is a lack of materials. There are no audio and video. You don't have any lessons video, or you don't have a channel on YouTube with lessons. Some of people started something, but they stopped after a while. So we don't have postcats and Duolingo. Maybe we have some. There are some applications, but usually people are telling me that they don't have any materials. They don't have to learn from. Maybe they can use some native materials, but there are not so many materials to learn by yourself.
And what's available? Is it in English for English speakers?
Some of materials are for English and for Spanish speakers, because a lot of people are from South America. They are from Croatia. They want to learn Croatian.
And that means
we have a lot of people there.
And it means you can't. If someone doesn't speak Spanish and you have a good book in Spanish, you can't use it. I have the same. I have some materials for Russian speakers, but if I have an English speaker, those Russian textbooks are just nothing to do with that. Yeah. So does it mean that you make your materials on your own? You have to create your own materials.
I use some of the textbooks with audio CDs, but I also use my own material. And for more advanced students, I use some video from our TV. So some authentic materials, if they are able to understand it. So I do something with these materials.
Where do you get the authentic materials? That's the big question. That's for you, for everyone. Yes, it's not only about small language. For beginner students, okay, we maybe have textbooks or we have our own ideas. The advanced, this vast realm of advanced learners, where do you get the materials?
Yeah, well, it depends. I mean, for example, at least for me, I'm working with an American student, which he's very advanced actually, and I mean, it depends. Sometimes, for example, I just use, I don't know, textbooks. So what I do, I take from those books like articles, but like B2 articles, like B2 level articles. So they are interesting. Their grammar is very kind of complicated, you know. And so that might be a good idea, like, you know, just taking a good textbook. Otherwise, you could also try with, I don't know, like newspaper, for example. I mean, I'm just talking about reading, like newspaper. You know, we've got, of course, plenty of them in Italy, like in all the countries. So it might be a pretty good, reliable material. Again, otherwise, you just have to improvise something and just make something up on your own. Though for advanced, it might not be like the easier way, because sometimes when you, I mean, making something up for a beginner might be relatively easy. For an advanced student, it's trickier, I guess.
But you have more options when you have advanced students. I have a conversation class for advanced German students with my own material, and I usually have a combination of a text and the video or podcast, sometimes pictures, which I let the students describe, something like this. But this is for the levels B2, C1, C2. So I don't do this with lower intermediate or beginner students. And I work a lot with native material. I edit the text a bit. Say, for example, I highlight expressions, idiomatic expressions, where I'm pretty sure the student won't know them yet. And so we work with the vocabulary, not that much grammar, and it's a lot of conversation. The focus is on conversation, of course.
If you take materials, how do you? I feel like I'm not okay when I'm giving something like text during the lesson, because what's valuable is speaking. That's, I think. Do you ask the students to read it in advance before the lesson? Do you send it in advance, or if you want to watch a video together? I
send my material one day in advance, always. You know, and some read it before the lesson. That's fine. Others don't, and then we read it together. That depends on the student. I'm very flexible concerning this. Also with homework, I always offer homework, but if someone doesn't want to do it, that's fine for me. That's always part of my own material, homework, and normally to write something, because this is something I wouldn't do in class.
Sometimes when, like, I'm working with like an article or something, it depends, but I usually read it to my students without looking. So she is now looking at the text, so he or she can practice with listening. And then if it's like an hour lesson, for example, I share my screen with the student so that the student can read again the text and focusing on what part he or she didn't understand. And so those idiomatic expressions, as Daniela said, that I usually also highlight, because I'm sure that the students will not get them. So it's kind of a combination of reading, listening, understanding, and then from there we just start a conversation, which is the fun part.
And it depends on the student's personality. I've already had advanced students who spoke very well, but who were sticking to the questions and who were just answering my question, nothing else. And there are other students, you just give them like a sentence or word or topic, and they talk for half an hour. That's totally different.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing.
Yeah, that's true. That really depends on the student's personality, because I have 4 advanced students in Italian, which is, I would say, to me, at least to my experience, a little rare, because usually they stick like from beginner to intermediate, and because it's for traveling or for fun, they don't really stick to an advanced level. But once they reach an advanced level, what I usually do is I suggest a topic. So let's say, for example, like Daniela, I send it an article usually a day in advance so they can have a little reading, or I do it right after the lesson, like related to the topic we talked about. So I use magazines a lot more than newspapers, because I feel, at least in Italian, that the language is easier, and especially they're shorter. Easier in an extent. Let's say that usually they talk, at least newspaper, like politicians, economics, stuff like that. Well, magazines that talk about, like social medias, teenagers, and more, like talkable topics to me, at least for my students, you know, like, because they're interested in Italian culture, so that's what I have to bring to the plate, let's say. And also, like, what I do a lot when a student is really advanced is I do not focus on grammar. I just take notes on, like, what their issues are, and then eventually, like, at the end of the class, I say, hey, I noticed you did this. And so, like, I don't stress at all grammar, like, for advanced students. Just yeah,
because advanced, if
they usually know.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh yeah, you're right. And so
and then interrupting, you know, in the middle of when they are on this flow and start speaking is just for advanced. The intermediate, I don't know, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, sometimes I skip, sometimes I try. That's why I love giving written homework, because written homework, it's like they speak but speak slowly, and then I can correct mistake, because when students speak, I know when I am a student, I found out that I totally dislike being corrected, because usually I make mistakes. Like, I know it's a mistake, but just, you know, I'm busy thinking what I want to say, then I make this mistake. So so when I'm corrected, like, what's the use? But because I will forget it, and I am interrupted and don't know what to say next. So so I was writing things down, yes. And I also did, I think I posted it on italki teachers. It worked several times. I used, that was for Charlie again. I was recording him speaking and writing down the notes. He didn't see it. I was writing in a Word, not in Skype, but in just an opened Word, and I was writing down his mistake, correcting his mistakes in writing. But it was just, I told him in advance, prepare a lecture, a 20 minutes lecture, and then I will be just listening, you will be speaking. And this is what I recorded, and I was just writing down the notes. But that's for extremely hardworking students, advanced and hardworking. Yeah, it worked nicely. For others, depends. So, okay. So that was about small languages students, small languages teachers. What are the advantages? I'll start from the positive. What are the advantages of teaching small languages? Yeah, advantages do have advantages. In teaching small languages, why is it good to teach small languages?
I think as a teacher of a small language, you have more possibilities to develop your own branch if this is what you want to do.
Absolutely.
Because as I don't know who said it in the beginning, but for example, when you go to Udemy, there are very few courses for small languages. And I think this is a possibility to generate passive income. Now, which is for the big languages like English or Spanish or German. There are so many books, so many video courses. Well, it's never been my goal. I thought of this, but I think I feel demotivated. But if it's for the small language, I have a good friend who is a Hungarian teacher, and she's trying to do this now, to develop her own material and to make a video course for Hungarian. And I think you have these possibilities to stand out and develop your brand, which is much easier than when you teach a big language. This is
it's an
how I
excellent
think.
point. Excellent point. But on the other hand, you know, you have how many people want to learn this language? You know, it's very limiting.
There's always a demand. There's always a demand. It's a matter of marketing, of reaching people, but there's always demand. For example, my friend told me a lot. She has a lot of students from the US who have Hungarian ancestors, and that's the reason why they learn the language. There's always demand, no matter which language. You just have to reach the people. You have to target them.
Yes, I checked for Croatian. There is no native materials on Udemy. You have one teacher of Serbian, so similar. They are really similar, and she has a course for Serbian, Croatian, Bosnian, and she has. I think the price is 70. I'm not sure euros or dollars, maybe euros. And she had 200 students for the beginner course. So it is a great thing, but I think it is a lot of work. Maybe I was yes.
I think it's worth it.
Yes,
For
but maybe
it's really worth it.
yes, but maybe I thought maybe that when I'm more in it, so I could do maybe for a start a beginner course for tourists and for just for beginners. So maybe there is some chance for do some materials for maybe someone would be interested in it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm absolutely sure that you would have this possibility. So go for it.
And would you say is Udemy worth it? I think Udemy takes like 50%.
I think it's a start to get visibility. That's just like italki.
Because
if you want to develop your own brand and have your own website and sell stuff on your own, you can make more profit, of course. But it's hard work.
It is. But I'm right now. I have this course at my. It's already kind of ready. It's screaming, "Make me a site," and I am working on the site. But of course, this thought is buzzing. Like, how am I gonna market this site? Okay, I have a wonderful site, but who knows? Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have started.
You probably have to invest some money, use Facebook ads or something like this, and to target people who are interested in this. This is what I'm currently trying to learn. Actually, I bought some Udemy courses on Facebook ads, and because I would like to learn this marketing stuff. This is something I'm not familiar with, and I know it's important.
Yeah, it's definitely something.
I bought.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I bought how to make an online course. But I only started, so it takes time, I think, for this kind of courses. But maybe when I have more time, I can do this once, just to try how to maybe some small course for beginners. For I don't know, 5 lessons or so. Not. I saw there are some German courses and led from some italki teachers, and it's maybe 200 lessons in one course. I'm not sure how many people do this, so maybe some of them do, but I think maybe it's more worth to try to make some small course. Which is
I agree with you. Yes, especially as Udemy constantly has these promotions where you can buy the courses for something like $10 or $15, and I would rather make a small course too, because people say, okay, I have to buy them for $10, and it has perhaps like 2 or 3 hours of video. That's fine. But if you make a course, say 20 hours of video, and then I don't know how it works exactly, but if you have to sell it for €10 or dollars, it's a bit frustrating. Because I bought such courses. I have one course which lasts for more than 20 hours, and I bought it for $10.
Okay, so selling a recorded course like for teachers, it's still much easier than giving lessons, because lessons is one-on-one. And you give 1 hour of your time is you teach one student 1 hour, and a recorded course on Udemy or wherever, it's you can reach more people, students. On the other hand, I have 10 minutes to go. I think these 2 minutes should suffice, and I hope. And then where was I? Some students. I also try to kind of market my course in recording and sending recorded lessons and sending files on italki, like for self-study. I have this kind of. I made it. I have on italki. I have that out of all the different types of courses I have. One is Hebrew for beginners, and the other one is Hebrew for self-learners, for zero beginners, and where I actually say you pay me $10 and I'll send you the video and I'll send you the files and I'll check your homework, and it kind of works. But I mean, in terms of income it works, but I am not very happy with the results in terms of like students achievements and learning. People give up. I mean, people start doing it and stop somewhere around lesson 5, because that's the problem with Coursera, for example. It's well known that people at Coursera don't finish their courses, most of them.
But I wouldn't worry about this. As I said before, you cannot force people to. If someone decides to buy this course and starts with it and then doesn't finish, it's not your problem.
Absolutely.
I like your philosophy, Daniela.
Okay.
What can I do?
Great.
Done this myself. Bought courses, started them, and didn't finish them.
Yeah, but that's when it's recorded. I sell like one lesson each time. So when I take
Yeah.
5 out of 20, yeah, it's a pity. Actually, in a way, I feel like I'm like, I am interested in students' progress, and each time a student, you know,
It's great to see this. When, for example, I started with someone from the US about 2 years ago. She was a beginner with German, didn't speak anything. And now she's around B2. We're actually going to start with C1. And that was, but she's very outstanding because she is she learns for pleasure. No, she doesn't need it, but it's her hobby and she likes it so much. And to see this progress over the course of these 2 years, it's so amazing for me to say, wow.
yeah, definitely. These are the students that keep us going. These are the students that keep us going. All the others, I love them. I love everyone. I love every single student of mine. But, you know, some are just, you know, an episode in your life, and some are your become your best friends and your pride and your. I'll send you the link to Charlie. He is the one. Yeah. Okay. Yes. I think it's more or less it about this topic before we get kicked again. So, yes, shall we close the meeting somewhere around now? How was it? Are you enjoying these meetings, people? What do you say? Shall we keep going? Because it's
Sure. Of course. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, nice. Yeah.
Good, great, thank you. And maybe how about staying about this time every second week? Is this time good? Is it a good day? Is it a good time?
For me.
Because I think it feels it's more.
Yes.
It's better to have it like the same day, same time, to avoid confusion. We have different time zones, and etc. If we get used to one time, it's better. Usually for me, always for me, Saturdays are my day off. Yeah, but I will be asking for someone to, you know, sometimes to take my place and stay in charge instead of me, because I'll try to keep it going and I want to participate, but maybe something happens and I can't be here on Sunday, then I will be asking people, to take over.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, so okay, see you then in 2 weeks from now, and thank you so much for coming and for sharing and for encouraging, and I love you all, people.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.